So I got to talk about fashion. You're in the fashion industry now. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong. Uh,
No,
S-
you're right.
Cliff X Fashions. Tell me about it.
Well, Clif X Fashions was kind of founded out of um, I've worked with a lot of artists, especially female artists, who I've gotten involved in helping them develop their style or amplify their style. And some of that goes back to my mother. Again, my best friend, my largest supporter, my biggest fan was my mother. She was also she made all of our clothes. Like I had my first pair of store-bought jeans when I asked her to buy me a pair of bell bottoms in 1971, I think, or 70. Um, she made all my clothes. She made all my shirts, my pants. I didn't have a store-bought pair of blue jeans until I was 17. Can you imagine that?
Wow, amazing.
And so I would see something that I liked, like the latest from Carnaby Street in London, which was like the fashions that were the Who, Jimi Hendrix, the late period Beatles. Um, all of those groups got their clothes from this small area in London called Carnaby Street, and it was a collection of fashion designers and people who made everything from hats and belts, and even the people in San Francisco picked up on that. So, like a lot of the fashion that you saw Janis Joplin, for example, wear, or some of the Jefferson airplane, all of that fashion came from this really small area in central London. So, I've always been I loved to dress, especially when I played rock music. We dressed very flamboyantly. It was the 70s, you know. I
Hmm.
mean, there were scarves and belts and hats and bell bottoms and cool, stuff with spangles and sparkles. And so I was always very fascinated by fashion. And so a few years ago, I work with well, this is a little bit of a diversion, but this is how I got into it. I work with the world's most famous mermaid. Her name is Hannah Fraser.
Yep.
Met Hannah working with her father, Andy Fraser, who was in the rock band Free,
Hmm.
and he
All
co-wrote
right
the
now.
song
All
"All
right
Right
now.
Now,"
Yep. I know
yeah,
Andy Fraser.
most played song in the history of rock and roll.
Yep.
Well, Andy had a song on the radio or television. I don't remember where we heard it. This is around 2009, and my wife and I heard it, and she's like, "You should give them a call and see if they need a publicist or if they need help." And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure Andy Fraser's probably got it covered." And she would not give up. She was relentless. She said, "Call them." So I, finally went, "Okay, okay, I'll call them." So sure enough, I tracked his assistant down, kind of acting manager girl Friday. Um, and 2 days later, I'm on the phone with Andy Fraser, and I couldn't believe, first of all, I'm talking with a guy that was my idol, one of my idols. I mean, I was a big fan of Free, and then Bad Company, Paul Rogers, and Simon Kirke, the drummer that was in both of those bands. Now, Andy did not go on to be in Bad Company, so he was in Free. He wrote and co-produced all the stuff. He was a teenager, but he had come up under the tutelage of like um, famous English bluesman, and so he knew. Well, he was brilliant, and so sure enough, then they hired me to be his publicist, and he had a song out called "The Big One" and a really cool video that went along with it. And in the video, it's got ocean scenes in it, and there's this mermaid swimming with this giant whale shark. And I went, "Oh my God, who is that woman?" And he said, "That's my daughter Hannah."
Wow.
And so I studied up on her, and sure enough, she's the most famous mermaid in the world.
Amazing.
And so after Andy passed away, a few years ago, I was going to be in California in 2020. I was going to be in California for the NAM convention, and I went out there with a client that I managed, and we had a lot of stuff going on for her, endorsement deals and different things. And we'd gone out to do some stuff with Gretsch Guitars because I'd just gotten her an endorsement with Gretsch. And we ended up meeting folks with Taylor. That resulted in an endorsement as well, and folks with Ferk Guitars, and we got an endorsement from them. But while we were there, I made it a point to meet Hannah Fraser, and I asked her before I went out there. I said, "Who does your anything, booking, publicity, anything?" She's like, "I do it all myself." I said, "Well, you need some help, and I would love to help you." So I started working with Hannah, doing publicity and a little booking here and there when I could. Then the pandemic hit,
Mhm.
and I would watch her in these different clothing designs, and two names kept coming up in the in her presentations. One was a lady named Deborah Lindquist, and Deborah's based in the Los Angeles area, and another designer named Jessica. Um, um, Bear with me just a second. I'm my Jessica Hoff. So I reached out to Hannah, and I'm like, I've really been thinking for a while because several artists I'm working with, females, would love to wear some of these outfits by these designers. Are you good if I reach out directly to these designers and see if I can help them? And she's absolutely. So I connected with Jessica, and then I connected with Deborah, and they both agreed that I could pitch their material and kind of act as a brand manager, brand agent for them. And so I started that business during the pandemic. And I'm not killing a fat hog or anything like that. I'm not out there setting the world on fire as a fashion brand manager, but I'm having fun with it. And we've been able to, do some business together, and I'm thrilled with that.